So, what is an HS code? The Harmonized System Codes are an internationally accepted product classification system. These codes are used in all your order and shipping documents so that all parties know exactly what product is being bought and shipped. It's also what's used for calculating the correct tax, duty, tariffs, and making sure that everything's properly labeled, and if there's anything harmful coming through, they know what it is. It's an incredibly important code, and you need to make sure that you have it right. The first 6 digits of the HS codes are usually the same worldwide. The first 2 digits identify the chapter in the nomenclature, the second 2 digits identify the heading within that chapter, and the last 2 digits identify the subheading within that chapter. There's usually an additional 4 digits right after that. So it goes 4 digits, a decimal point, 2 digits, a decimal point. And those last 4 are used domestically. Now, so those first 2 identify the US subheading of the HS code and establish duty rates. The last 2 digits are a statistical suffix that are used for collecting trade data and do not classify the product. If it's not specifically listed, the last 2 digits will be 00. It's also important to note that countries can add additional numbers for their own purposes. So, for example, Germany and the United States could have different HS codes for the same product. They can differ among nations. So now that we know why it's important to get these numbers right and what they mean, how do you go about finding the correct HS code for your product? It's not always easy to find. Things that are simple and well established, sure, like a ballpoint pen, that would be very easy to find. But other things are much harder to find, as you'll see in one of the later examples. The first method that you can use is going on the U.S. International Trade Council's website and searching their HDS search function. The next is Googling just your product and HS code ruling. Third, you can go undercover and ask other suppliers. This is especially useful if your product, it isn't very clear what the HS code should be. And finally, if all else fails, you can go to the US government and ask for a ruling on what the correct HS code should be. So for the first method, I just search HS code search, and it'll bring you to the United States International Trade Council's website, and here you have a search bar. You can either search specific HS codes, or you can search certain keywords. You can just type in your product name. So for this instance, I used a ballpoint pen. Now you'll notice on the search results on the left, the first 2 codes given are not for ballpoint pens. They're for pen knives, and they're for desktop filing and card index cabinets. The third option, the third search result, is for ballpoint pens. So if you look just to the right of that into the spreadsheet, the first column on the left is the heading and subheading. So heading subheading 9608 is for all sorts of pens, pencils, and mentions other types of pen and pencil accessories. That's further classified with 9608.10.0000. That's specifically ballpoint pens. Now that last 00 is that statistical suffix. It's just used for data. It has no effect on your duty rates. Speaking of duty rates, though, while we're here, let's discuss the 3 columns on the right that discuss rates of duty. If you look at 1, general, this is what you'll normally be paying. This is just the rate that is, in general, used for all countries. So in this instance, it's an 0.8 of a cent per pen plus 5.4%. Now there's a special rate where it's free to import pens from this list of countries. So duty rate 1 special is for if there's a specific trade treaty that is involved. Now Schedule 2, that's for countries that we don't get along with. These countries are not our friends. So if you tried to import ballpoint pens from Iran or North Korea or countries like that, this would be the duty rate you're paying. You're most likely going to be sticking with duty rate 1 general, but I think this is important information for you to know, especially since it's all right here for you. The next method is just Googling it. So if you just go on Google and search ballpoint pen HS code ruling, or as you can see here, ballpoint HS code ruling, you'll get a lot of results for the HS code for ballpoint pen. As you can see right here at the top, it is the same HS code as we found on the government's website. Now, if you look right below that, though, it starts with the number 4000, but the one below that has the correct code. So make sure you go through a few options. The first one's not always necessarily right, and just see what the consensus is. Now let's say you have a product that it's not so clear. A few months back, we were working with a client who was looking to import car covers from China. There is no specific HS code for car covers, and we were running into a big roadblock of which HS code to use. So we had the idea to just go undercover and ask other suppliers. Since we were looking to import from China, we started on Alibaba.com, which is a great resource if you are trying to source your product specifically from China. So from there, we searched for car covers, and you get a lot of options. The first thing I look at is, due to the way that companies are required to be named in China, I look at the company name, and that tells you, is it a trading company or do they actually manufacture it? I looked at several company pages, but as an example, we just looked at this one here, Tiantai OBD Industry and Trade Company Limited. If you click on their name right there, it'll take you to their company page. It'll tell you all about them. Seeing what they can do, I hit the chat now button there on the right and gave them a little bit of a story. I said, "Hi, I'm a college student working on a project simulating importing goods from China. I've been assigned car covers and I'm having trouble finding the right HS code. Can you help me?" And they said, "Of course, here's the HS code and good luck." I contacted a lot of different companies. Some of them just tried to sell me car covers. Some of them gave me an HS code. Some of them still try to talk to me even today. But at least it's a good starting point. It's a good way to see what people are actually using in the real world. And it's a good place to start where you can look, you can go back to the U.S. International Trade Council website, search this HS code, and see how well that applies to you. And if all else fails, if you're not feeling confident, and you just want to be certain, you can ask the government for a ruling. So first thing I did was I searched online requirements for electronic ruling requests. You can find the e-rulings template. This is an online tool for getting a ruling. Here they'll have you put in some basic information, what type of ruling you're looking for, and they'll ask you some questions and have you describe the product and send them pictures.